let's move on to item number 5, consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implemented by earlier council action and or may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested. Are there any items that my colleagues want to pull for a separate vote? Not seeing any. How about any that we want to have some additional questions or commentary on? Councilmember Mason.
The ransomware item and the grand jury, and then the hotel item.
Okay, can you identify it by letter, please?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I've got to scroll back up. So 5C, the minutes.
Got it.
5D,
got it.
The San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury.
Mm-hmm.
And then F, the declaring property owned by the city of San Bruno.
Thank you. Anyone else for council? Okay, let's start taking, thank you. Let's start taking those on one by one. First, we're going to go to item C, approve the regular meeting minutes for the meeting of November the 24th, 2020. Councilmember Mason.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that the minutes reflect the question that was asked in regards to the ABC article with the police department, that one, is the information accurate, and then if not, that we request a redaction. I've already spoken with the clerk, and the clerk is making those changes. I just want to make sure that it's clear that those changes will be made. She did go back and listen to the recording to ensure that it's accurate. So that's it for me for the minutes.
Okay, just for clarity, so I understand you made those comments in regards to something that was done in 218. So your notation in the minutes is to have that noted, but you're also saying then you want it retracted, and then so it sounds like we're giving direction to staff through the minutes, or how are you interpreting this?
So that we should look into retraction if it's not accurate. So the clerk might want to speak to it because I've spoken with her and the city manager. The minutes, the way they're written right now, it's just too broad. And there was going to be a correction. So I'd be happy to call her or call on Melissa as well.
Yeah, because I know I'm sorry, go ahead, city clerk.
Yes, this is Melissa Thurman, city clerk. There was a request by Councilmember Mason to add additional language to her comments under council comments at the last meeting. The minutes that were presented to council in the packet say Linda Mason spoke regarding a news article regarding biases in relation to enforcement of curfew violations, and Councilmember Mason also spoke with social media sites with holiday themes, and she wanted more detail added on to that. And the city manager reviewed the video, and the suggested language to change to is Linda Mason spoke regarding a news article that alleged potential biases in relation to police arrests. Councilmember Mason asked that the matter be looked into, and if the numbers are accurate, the city should state how we are addressing it. If not, we should request a retraction. She then wished everyone a safe holiday.
Thank you for the safe holiday. So I just want to make clear, because minutes to me are and please correct me, but minutes are taken by the minute taker on the interpretation of what's stated. And I forget, I honestly, where it was at on the agenda, but it's not an action. And I think because each one of us can have something stated in the minutes, modify it, and we're expecting staff to have action. I don't want to give that false expectation. I know on the 2018 report, I know sometimes too we bring things up, and I always would hope that staff gets a heads up to it so that maybe we can respond, because I know I got 2 phone calls saying, what was that about? And why didn't somebody say something?
The Mayor Medina staff was informed. I did inform the chief, and I also informed the city manager ahead of time. Okay. They're both on the call. And I also understand what you're saying in regards to the minutes, but I believe that that's a conversation we're having around the city council processes. I did read that the minutes are part of the discussion we'll eventually have, and how we want those minutes written, how descriptive we want them written. But I do believe that the minutes in this particular area at this time in our country's history, our local history, do need to reflect that the city does take these actions seriously, And when something like this comes to the attention of the city council, we can't sit by and just say, okay, this was an article that came out and we're not going to address it. We have been proactive. We've initiated as a council a third-party audit that's going to be starting soon. And this is part of that entire conversation, and to leave that entire section out of the minutes, I think doesn't do justice to what we as a council have been trying to do and what our chief has been trying to do, which is really frame the conversation around what is happening in San Bruno with the police department with bias, and if there are any issues, how we're addressing them.
Okay, now I can appreciate that, and I appreciate that you had given them a heads up, because the way I heard you articulate it was if it's not accurate. Based on an email that we received, it is not accurate. And then I'm sure staff had already said that to you. And in your commentary, I didn't get that impression, that it was an if. And our chief has basically said it is not correct. So
I mean,
you could have shared that at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd have to refer to City Attorney Zaffarano if we want to have a whole discussion now, because I think we're going into an entire discussion around, what was said via email that the public hasn't seen and what wasn't said. I don't believe that the email said whether it was accurate or not. It actually gave other hypotheticals that would be similar. But I want to just go back to the minutes. If the council doesn't want to accept the amended minutes, we can vote on them. But I do think that this topic is very important. I believe that we're addressing it, and I believe the minutes should reflect closer to what was said than a very broad statement.
Thank you for your explanation and bringing that forward. And yes, I support them then and now. Why don't we move on, unless there's not any other comments on item C, D. And that's approve the City of San Bruno response letter to the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury report titled Ransomware. Mm-hmm. It is not enough to think you are protected.
Yeah, so on page 2 of the item, the city's response, I just want to make sure that that we are approving the item as it is. I noticed that numbers 1 and 2 were not answered in the response by the city, and I wasn't sure if that was just an oversight or not.
City Manager, do we have somebody that can respond? City Manager, City Attorney?
Council, Jovan, Grogan, City Manager, just looking at that section of the report. Now, those recommendations have been implemented as of November 30th, 2020. What the council member is pointing out is under R1, the response is actually listed at the top of page 3 of 3, and that response is a response to R.1.1, R.1.2, and R.1.3. And so that response is for all of those sub-bullets. So it is there. The response is correct. It's probably just a pagination that throws off the interpretation.
Okay, great. Thank you. That helps.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on, unless there's anything from council, let's move on to item F. Adopt resolution declaring property owned by the City of San Bruno in the crossing development on Admiral Court as surplus land. Councilmember Mason.
Yeah, so this has been this property has gone kind of to a hotel deal, then not a hotel deal, then a hotel deal, then now not a hotel deal again. So instead of putting it on consent, this has been such a public discussion around this land and this piece of land. And so tonight's agenda item is really just to designate it surplus. And I didn't know if the city manager or any of the other city council wanted to say anything. I just want to make sure the public is aware that we are not approving a sale of the property. What we're doing is we're just establishing it as surplus.
City manager, did you want to say anything?
Sure. Again, Jovan Grogan, City Manager, Councilmember Mason, you are correct. The title of the report is Adopt a Resolution Declaring the Property Owned by the City of San Bruno in the Crossing Development on Admiral Court as surplus land. That is the action that the City Council has taken. There is proposed to be taken. There is no action tonight to sell the property. Declaring it surplus is in compliance with state law, and it is a step before the property can be sold. And so the action tonight will set about that process where the property, if council says yes, will be declared surplus. There is a 60-day period where it must be offered to affordable housing developers, and then a 90-day period after that if anyone raises their hands. And so we will, of course, comply with the state law. But as the community and the council knows, this property is formerly owned by the redevelopment agency and was purchased by the city as an economic development initiative, initially entitled as a hotel. There is a very long history behind potential hotel sales that currently are not active due to the COVID-19 economic downturn. And so the city is looking at other options, and the city council will have closed sessions to discuss those options. And of course, we will have public reports and a public presentation of any of the results that come out of those closed sessions to transact this property.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, City Manager Grogan, for that response, because this has been ongoing for a number of years, and I do also am interested in hearing more, and than it being on consent. And I understand that there's plenty of discussion that will be coming forward. I wanted to note that in the discussion in page 2 of this report, that mentions the city recently received an offer for the purchase of the site as an automobile dealership. So there are plenty of discussions ahead.
Okay, I see no other hands or comments. And we just went over items C, D, and F. On consent, we have A through F. Is there action to approve?
As amended, with the minutes as amended.
Well, we'll see what the motion is.
Move to approve as amended.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Councilmember.
A
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Mason,
Aye.
Councilmember Medina,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar,
Aye.
Mayor Medina.
Aye.